There's a lot of people that have been asking how to do these rear disc brake upgrades on these 10 bolt, 12 bolt rear ends. There are two different style rear ends. As far as the flange on the end, you have some that have the big nut right here, and this raised portion with 2 bolts on the bottom, and some that have it cut off right here with 4 bolts. 2 bolts on the top, 2 bolts on the bottom. The brake upgrade will work on either one. So a lot of people asking questions, not a lot of people providing answers or being able to provide answers. However, I've done several of these upgrades. I've already done one on a 12 bolt, and I've done several on the 10 bolt. So some of the basic stuff you're going to need, you're going to have to pull a set of brakes off of a LS1 style Camaro. It could be the V6 or the V8. They both have the same brake setup. You're going to need the brake caliper, which is right here. You're going to need the PAB, so just pull that off all at once in one piece. And you're going to need the ebrake setup. Now, whether you use e-brakes or not, you're still going to need this, because obviously that's what the caliper bolts onto. So the main part of this is just to get this assembly here, e-brake assembly and backing plate, to bolt onto this flange right here. So it's very simple to do, and like I said, whether you use the e-brake or not is really not important. The e-brake is easy to figure out. I won't be doing the e-brake setup on this, probably, for the simple fact that the rear end is going to go on the El Camino project, and there's a 49-inch with some big brakes going on that. So I got this rear end so that I can move the car. I have some other stuff I'm working on right now, and I need to be able to move the car in and out and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to be fixing this rear end up just to do it. Turn a negative into a positive, so to speak. The last rear end that I did, I didn't get any footage of it, I just did it real quick. And the rear end I had on the El Camino was in some of my earlier videos. That took very little bit of time to do, so take your time. And don't get frustrated. And it's very, very simple, easy mod to do. Saves you a lot of money. These right here are good calipers, and basically you can get these for a fairly inexpensive price at the junkyard, and I pick and choose. Another thing I want to say is that there are 2 different stud sizes on the back, depending on a bunch of different variables that don't really matter. But you're either going to need the 12 millimeter stud with the larger knurl size, which is the size that basically allows this stud to press into the axle flange. It's the size of that hole there, the size of the diameter of the knurl on this stud here. It's either going to be a 12 millimeter, which I believe this one is here, or it's going to be 7/16 by 20 or dash 20. You can find that out very easily. Either just measure or whatever. This happens to be a 7/16-20 thread pattern, and as I said, this one here won't thread onto the stud. That's because the stud's the larger one, which I could already tell, the 12 millimeter. So that's another thing I wanted to touch on. I will have part numbers for if you want to use the ARP bolts, because I found that for what you get, they're the cheapest. I will put the part numbers in this video. So another thing you're going to need is going to be gear oil, and if you have the posi, you need the posi additive, and a gasket, or you can just use silicone, which sometimes is a lot better than that gasket. So I don't have to do any of this. Like I said, I'm doing it in order to show people and document a little bit better some of the groundwork that's necessary to do this upgrade. The upgrade, should take you an hour at the most if you have everything that you need. You do need to have your studs pressed into the axle flange, so that's going to be something you want to do in advance. For today, I'm going to drain the cover, pull the axles, break down the rear end, and then we'll go from there. Last part that you'll need, not including the e-brake stuff that you'll want, which I'll show you how to do that at the end of this. This is where your shock mounts. I put my calipers to the rear on both sides because I like that better. What you want to do is you want to make a new shock mount relocator, and that's easily done with a little bit of angle iron, which I have sitting somewhere in the garage. You're just going to make a L bracket, and you're going to use grade 10.9 bolts to bolt the L bracket to this, where this is bolted up, and then your shock will then bolt sideways to that L bracket that you made. So I'll show that as well. Like I said, I'm not even putting shocks on this car. I'm just going to put some stock springs and going to just pretty much throw it on so that I can move the car. So here we go. Okay, the most important thing here is to make sure that you're in a comfortable position, and that goes with when you do anything. Right now what I'm going to do is a process of taking the axles out, which is going to incorporate pulling this housing cover off and draining the fluid out of it. Inside the housing cover there's some C-clips you need to pull out in order to remove the axle flange. Put on some gloves. This stuff smells pretty bad, and the first tool that I'm going to be working with, you can do it with a 3/8 drive ratchet and 3/8 drive socket, 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter. That's if you don't have air tools, or you can use your air tools and get it done a lot faster. It's the way that I like doing things, the most efficient way, and dealing with some pain right now, so that's always an advantage, so I can't sit for long periods of time. So here we go. Gonna pull off this differential cover. I'm basically gonna loosen and remove most of them except for maybe the top one, and then crack the housing. You want to have some stuff on the ground to catch the nasty grease, and a container so that it drains down into. That's kind of common sense, but I figured I'd point that out too. Basically you want to go around and you can break these loose. They shouldn't be extremely tight, but they may be. Just use your racket, break it loose real quick. You don't need air for that. And these are actually pretty much hand tight from that point on. basically, I forgot how I have this rear end set up. You can do all this with it on the car, but obviously I'm not going to put this on the car to show you how to do it while I have it off. Actually all of the rear ends I've done have been done on the car. Basically I'm just rocking this back, just letting it rest the weight on the jack stands. This is requiring no strength at all to do this. Well, baby strength. So just draining it out all the way, letting it drain. Another thing I would do is just take some brake clean and just spray the crap out of this stuff to clean the housing out, which I'll do later. For now, this is pretty much good enough. After this drains real good, I'm going to be showing you how to remove the C-clips in order to take the axles off. So I basically have 3 jack stands. I got 2, one on each side here on the axle tube, and then I have one up there by the yoke to hold the rear end level. But like I said, I'm just kind of rocking it back a little bit just to get all the excess out. We're pretty much good. Pretty much good there. Also, while you're waiting for stuff to drain, you can be doing other stuff. Like I would just check the housing for any metal shavings or anything like that. You could also check your ring gear and see if there's make sure the teeth are all nice and no excessive wear or chips. Because while you have this stuff apart, you might as well address that. Also, you can clean up the housing a little bit. Any excess gasket maker or anything that's on it, clean all that stuff off anyway. And like I said, before the cover goes back on, this entire thing will be cleaned out. I might even just go ahead and throw a pause in, and if I do that, I'll show you how to do that. Alright, now that that's all drained out, we'll go to the next step. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we want to actually remove the axles. To do this, you got to remove this center shaft. This is a center shaft right here. This is a center shaft retaining bolt. In order to remove the center shaft, you got to remove this retainer bolt. So that's what we're going to do now. This center shaft keeps these axles from going in. When these axles go in, the C-clips fall out, or can fall out. So basically you got to take these off in order to remove the C-clips. Okay, in order to remove the center shaft retaining bolt, just use the appropriate size wrench or socket if you can get it in there. In this case, I'm using an 8mm. It's probably closer to a 9/32, I'm not sure, but 8mm is going to be fine. Alright, so we're just going to remove this. Which is this retaining bolt right here. Set it down, and we're going to want to probably spin this spin the diff around and push this pin out, or should just pretty much slide right out anyway. If you're having issues with it, you can just spin it around and just drive it out with the flathead screwdriver. In most cases it should just slide right out like it did. Alright, the next step is pretty simple, and that is going to be to push the axle in. Okay, now that we got the center shaft and the center shaft retaining bolt out, you can now access this area here, and like I said, the axles lock in with the C-clips. Once you push the axle in, you'll be able to access the C-clip and pull the axle out. So I'm going to have my son push the axle flange towards this direction if you're doing the driver's side, and you'll hopefully see what I'm talking about. And you want to make sure you don't really disturb any of this stuff, which nothing should fall out. This is not a posi rear end or anything, but you'll get the point. So my son pushed it in, and I know you heard the C-clip fall out. This is a C-clip here, and the reverse would be to slide it back in, pull the axle flange so that it locks, and then put the centering shaft in. So here we go. I like to keep my left and right one basically where they were. I don't know if it makes a difference. I doubt it does. So this was the one that came off the driver's side. I'm going to place it on a certain side of the differential here in order to keep that. Once you remove the C-clip, you can now remove the axle, which I'll have my son do very carefully, and I'll show you what that is, what's being done. Basically, you're just going to lift up a little bit and pull it all the way out. For me, I'm not concerned too much with damaging the sill, because you're going to want to replace those anyway. But there's one axle. One axle is now out. We are now going to repeat the process with the other side. Once again, by pushing in the axle, the C-clip, you can access the C-clip, and it should just pretty much fall right out, which it did, and you can hear it fall on the ground. Once again, these are C-clips. I like to keep the left one, or the driver's side, where it goes, and the passenger side where it goes. So I'm going to place this one back where it goes. And again, this stuff in here can move around on you, so you want to make sure you kind of don't you know how that goes. If this is especially a regular differential, limited slip or whatever it is, you just want to make sure that these gears are lining up. So just be careful of that, because they can come out or whatever. And they're easy to put back in, but just be cognizant of that. But just be aware that that can happen. Now the C-clip is out, you basically repeat that same step and pull out this axle, being very careful of the seal. But once again, you should replace the seals every time you remove the axle. Okay, now we have both axles removed, and we're ready to move on to the next step. Okay, the next thing you want to do, if the housing is still on the vehicle, of course you're going to have your e-brake attached, which is on the other side there. You're going to have your rear brake line attached on each side. It's going to go in there, and you're going to have the top bolt, or nut rather, and you're going to have 2 bolts on the bottom, or you're going to have 4 bolts. So on this particular rear end, it's got the big nut there, and it's got the two bolts on the bottom. You can pretty much take this whole backing plate for the rear drums off in one. There's no need to remove all the hardware, brake shoes and everything, unless you have to remove something to access these bottom bolts. So that's what we're going to do next. If you have the housing on the car, again, you want to remove the brake fluid line and detach the emergency brake cable. This nut right here can be a bitch to get off, so I didn't loosen it up beforehand. I'm just going to try to take it off kind of in real time to show how difficult or not, but you could basically take that off with the torque bar, regular ratchet, either 1/2 inch or 3/8, whatever you got. 1/2 or 3/8 drive. This is a 21mm socket on this particular one. That'll work. Like I said, this one's a pain in the ass, it always is. With this impact, I do have a bigger one, but I'm just going to jump right to using my little breaker bar, and I got something for his ass, so just hang tight. Got a little Harbor Freight breaker bar on it, and see what this will do. So now I have a 1/2 drive socket, so I'm going to go ahead and try my impact again one more time. That shit doesn't want to budge again. So I'm going to go ahead and put my breaker bar on it and see what happens. There we go. Got a little Harbor Freight breaker bar. See if that'll work. Alright, well, it cracked it loose. I don't know if it's going to actually come off now or not, because the other side is spinning. This part right here is like it's seized, but that's fine. We'll heat it up or do whatever we got to do. Trying to kind of leave this in real time. Okay, my camera's battery went dead, so we're back up. I stopped where I left off. Basically just grabbed a pair of vice grips to hold the other side and see if that works. And go ahead and continue to try to get this off here. Basically for this one, I'm going to have to get something and just grab this, the other side of this bolt here and take that off. So I'm going to set that up and be right back with you. Okay, what I'm going to do in this case, since that nut's kind of seized on there, I want to be able to lock this portion right here down. So I'm just going to break some of this stuff down real quick. If this nut comes off nicely, maybe the other side will, then you won't have to do that, because the other two bolts that you need to get to are down here. So it's 1, 2, and 3 to take off to get this off. But since this is being stubborn, we'll go ahead and just take it apart real quick.
So is that like the brake lines?
The brake line goes right there. This is just your brake shoes and all your hardware. This is your e-brake, your emergency brake right here. That I'm pulling apart like that. And since it's going disc, this would be basically trash. And we're not concerned with that part there. But I basically took that off to be able to get to this right here. This is spinning.
Yeah.
Basically, I just want to lock it down. Probably with those vice grips. Alright, now that we broke that down pretty good in order to get to this right here, we're going to have to try to lock that down and try to see if we can get that nut off the other side. Alright, so basically I have the vice grips just kind of set on it to try to lock it down a little bit better, and we'll see what we can do. Just kind of got to work at it and you know, just figure out what it's going to take to get that off. But these are very old parts, so obviously things can seize together, rust together, all that. So here we go. Alright, let's try this again. I have my son holding the vice grip still, and let's see if it works. Alright, there's that one. The stubborn ass nut right here. But basically once you pull that off, you can pull the top bolt and nut off, and then move on to the bottom two. Okay, now we're going to remove the bottom two bolts. There's one right here and one right here. And for me, 10mm works. So break it loose. And take it off. Alright, this slides off, and then you have your flange right here, which is what we need to access. What's up next is repeating the process for the other side. Okay, once again, we know that this is a stubborn nut up there. So what we're going to do is we're going to break it with the breaker bar, the trusty Harbor Freight. This one happens to be a ratcheting one. We'll try to break it free, and then we'll figure it out from there. You can take off all the hardware, the shoe and all that stuff on this side, but because I don't want to do an extra unnecessary step if need be, I'm just going to leave that stuff on just in case I can get this nut off. But if not, we'll just have to repeat what we did on the other side. Be very careful when you're applying this much pressure, because you could slip and hurt yourself, and I don't want you to do that. So, alright, we got that one broke, and alright, it's moving again, kind of stopped, so we may be able to get this one off without taking off the everything over there, which is pretty cool. So we'll throw the impact on it real quick and see if it comes out. Alright, I need to buy a new memory card for this camera so that I can record for longer periods of time with a decent resolution. It shut out as I was pulling out that bolt right there, so this now comes off. It's real simple to do, and I was able to do it with most of the hardware on there without taking anything else apart, which is ideally what we want to happen. And that's why I didn't just go ahead and take all that stuff off ahead of time, because sometimes you're able to do it without that step. So there we have it. We have all the old brake hardware and components off. Now we're gonna go ahead and go on to the next step, and I'll show you what that is in a second. Okay, for our next step, I pretty much already know what to do here. Normally I would just take a 3/8 inch drill bit and drill these bottom holes out 3/8 inches, because I know that these bottom two holes line up. But since if this is your first time doing it, I kind of want to explain why or how that works. Basically, if you notice the back of this backing plate assembly, e-brake assembly for the upgrade, it has 4 holes, and this flange right here is flat. This flange right here is not flat. It's got a little bit of a raised portion up here, which you're going to be cutting off and grinding down a little bit of this metal to make it flat. Before you do that, you need to determine whether you want your calipers to go towards the rear like I do, or front. One thing about the calipers going toward the rear, if you're going to use the e-brake, that places the e-brake mechanism lever on the bottom where I believe it should be. It makes it pretty easy to utilize the e-brake, or to get the e-brake to work. Basically, if you were to set this on here, you'd notice that it isn't really all the way flat. That's because it's hitting right here on this raised portion here, and that's why you need to cut this off to stop that from hitting. Once you cut it off, you just grind this metal down just a little bit, but you can actually cut from the bottom of this point to the bottom of this point, and you won't have to really worry about that. But I like leaving a little bit of extra room. So what I do first, I just place this kind of mock this e-brake on here where it would go using the bottom holes, and I mark the top 2 holes on the flange, which my basic mark is right here and right here. You probably can't see that, but I can, and that lets me know how much material I can actually cut off the flange without even worrying about it. Like I said, I already knew where I can cut, so I can do that without doing all this stuff. But if this is your first time doing it, you want to double check and triple check everything, and that's how you do it. So what I'm going to do next is get everything prepared, make my mark along here, and basically cut the flange. Okay, because I know that this rear end is not going to stay in this car, and it will probably go to someone else, what I'm going to do is try to make the cut as clean as I can. If this rear end was staying in the car, I probably would just cut it freehand. So I just take my T-square and just use something to mark the metal all the way across. You could also use a flathead screwdriver. Pretty much whatever you want to use to make it kind of a straight line. And it'll leave you with a mark similar to this. I kind of wanted to cut just level with this hole right here, just to square it off, which is probably going to be enough, but like I said, you can actually go down here and cut the bottom from this bottom divot to this one, but that puts you kind of close to your bolt holes. It's real thick metal right here, so you're fine. I scribed my mark where I want it to be, in line with the bottom of this hole here, and I'm going to set up to make my cut. Okay, and I started to just cut, but I decided to go ahead and get a little bit of documentation on how easy it is to cut. I cut about, I think, a little less than a quarter of a way through. It's good to have a decent blade when you do this stuff. You may go through a blade for both, you know, the flanges. You may go through a blade, one blade each. The package comes with two. The last time I did a brake setup, I used the other one, and it might work fine, but I just like to start off with a new blade because it just cuts a lot easier. Some people like to use gear oil or whatever. I cut this portion right here without using oil. Now I'm going to try a little bit of oil to see how easier or how much harder it cuts, and then I'll cut it real time to show you how it looks. It's hard to get a good clean cut with the Sawzall, but you know, you just gotta work with what you got. Now I gotta work the damn thing back into where I had it, so right about there, and trying to follow my line as good as I can. But if I happen to you know, cut outside the line, I'm not really concerned with that. So here we go. The video might cut off in between me doing this, but that's fine. I just want to get a little bit of how it works. Okay, that's with me applying very, very minimal pressure. Obviously there's no one here holding the rear end, so that should tell you how easy that was to cut. Extremely easy. It took a couple seconds. I'm already done with half of the flange. Now I need to go to the other side and cut the other half, and then I'm going to take my grinder and square it off. So I just wanted to kind of show a little bit of how easy that is to cut. A lot of people bitch and complain about it, but it's pretty simple. That's just a little bit of gear oil I'm using. There's probably better oils out there, but that's all I have right now. There you have it, more or less in real time, how fast you can cut it. Like I said, as you can see, it's a little uneven from cutting both sides, but it is what it is. That's what happens when you use a Sawzall. I'm going to take and square this off and just use a flapper wheel to grind it down, or grinding this. So we'll show that in a second. It's just pretty quick, pretty easy process. You could just leave it like this if you want to. Again, I'm going to flatten it out, but this is ready to go. Alright, before I go any further, I want to talk a little bit about safety. Of course, most people know. This is a brand new fire extinguisher. It's green for good there. I don't know if you can see that. Want to shake it up every now and then, so I'm going to do that now, even though it's good. And just show everyone in the house how to use it. Starting with my son. So once I do that, we'll get to grinding. But you always want to have the proper safety precautions around, and that's one of them. So I have that set up for me to be able to get some grinding done. I also have a welding blanket that I'm going to set up to shield the my crazy ass son's sitting on my jack right now, my motorcycle jack, looking goofy. but he's holding a welding shield. So once I start grinding, we're going to be shielding the shavings and stuff to try to control some of that as well, and get back to work. So here we go. One thing I do want to say, or a couple of things, is obviously all the friction creates a lot of heat, so be very careful with that. Another thing you want to do is if you're by yourself especially, make sure you stop every couple minutes, take a good look around you, and smell for anything burning, look for smoke and stuff like that. You can't see it, but behind us we have a welding blanket that's covering a portion of the car because the gas tank is still on it. I'm controlling the sparks to make sure they go away from me. Another thing you want to pay attention to is if this isn't on properly, this can actually back off depending on what you're doing. Depending on how much pressure you're placing on it, it can actually unscrew itself and this will fly off. So be very careful with that. Make sure you stop and check it every now and then to make sure that it's nice and tight, and then continue on. Basically just finish up what I'm doing. You get the point. All I'm trying to do is make this look clean, and like I said, this doesn't have to be perfect. Another thing is I left a little bit more flange than I normally would have, so I'm going to grind this portion flush with this, and then we'll after we do that, we'll do the other side and we'll continue on. Okay, after a little bit of grinding, it does look decent. It's not 100% level. I'll work on it for probably about another minute at the most before I move on. It's pretty level. This side's a little bit high, but if I were to straighten this up level, it'd probably be easier for me to freehand this. But since it's at a slant, I'm just working with what I got. Looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and grind the parts that are sticking out off real quick, and then we'll just move forward with the rest of this. Alright, I kind of just wanted to do a little bit of grinding in real time, just to show that it's not actually taking a lot of time just to get that flattened. And once again, you don't even have to do this entire step because it's all just cosmetic. There you go. That's good enough to go on to the next step. Okay, we're all set with that. I ground down the little bit that was sticking up here on both corners here. And also I smoothed the top off to my liking. I switched gloves. These were Harbor Freight. They're 100 gloves for $3.99. The blue ones are a little more expensive, so I kind of wanted to try these to see how I like them. And we're going to grab this piece here and stick it back on. And now everything is nice and flat. So that's going to work. We're going to go ahead and go to the other side of the housing and cut that flange off as well and prep it and prepare it the same way. Alright, we're back on it. Just going to cut the other flange off real quick. Once again, I scribed my mark here. So it's just basically repeating the same process as the other side. So you're going to want to start one side or the other. This is the same blade here. And I don't have a lot of room right where I'm at right now, but we're going to make do with what we have. Here we go. Once again, you probably want to remove this bolt stop here. Just get it out your way. It's not a big deal. It takes a couple seconds to pull it off. Alright. Here we go. Let's just get it started. now that I'm in a little ways, I'm going to add a little bit of oil to it and just cut all the way through. God damn it. One thing here is you want to make sure you wear eye protection, which I have on. And that doesn't look like it's shooting off a lot of metal, but it is very fine particles of metal. And I also plugged up the hole in the axle tube right now. So here we go. And there we go. And that was in real time right there. So there we go. That cut was a lot cleaner, so there won't be that much to clean up. Still got to grind down these two little humps here, and then we'll be off to the next step. All right. It helps if you're out here by yourself in the garage to kind of put on something that motivates you. So that's what I do. Just set the computer up, get in the most comfortable position as you possibly can, and get to work. So here we go. We got that flange cut there, and now we have this flange cut here. This flange came out a lot cleaner this time. The blade works perfectly fine. Gonna throw the bump stop back on and continue on from there. It doesn't take a long time to do this stuff. If you have decent tools, it makes it a lot easier on your life as far as it goes. But anybody can do this at home in your own garage, and you know, you can get everything that you need for around 150 to 200 bucks or so, or up, depending on what you want to do. But it sure beats paying $1,000 for a setup like this. All right, including the ebrake. Here we go. Let's get it. Now we're going to just go ahead and continue on with the same as we did the other side. Actually leaving the bump stops out because I'm going to clean down the entire rear end and possibly paint it. Not sure yet. But here we go. There's a little bit of a high spot over here. Like I said, none of this shit matters. It actually looks pretty good. But just for my peace of mind, I'm going to grind down the part that I marked here. That's a little high. And I was able to determine that by using my square. And then just marking the part that I want to take down a little bit. that's pretty straight. The little bit of material that needed to be ground off is ground off, and we're ready to go on to the next step. Okay, as I did kind of a little bit of a test fit on the backing plate here, I noticed that it's the corner is very, very close to this area right here on the backing plate. So what I'm going to do is just grind a little bit of that off, which is similar to the part that was raised. So the rear end actually already has kind of a little bit of a guideline, I guess, that you could just cut out and it will work just fine. So I'm going to round the edge a little bit and go from there. Alright, all that extra stuff I'm doing is just kind of to make it look as clean as I can, but you don't have to get all, you don't have to do all that extra mess if you don't want to. The point is just to grind it down enough or cut enough of the flange off in order for this to sit flush onto it. So that actually looks like it's going to work out well. Just in case, I'm going to go ahead and grind a little bit more off of both ends. And I'll do the same to the other side, and just so that they look the same. And then we'll go on to the next step. Okay, now we're going to take our 3/8 inch drill bit, and we're going to drill the bottom two holes. The bottom two holes are already obviously drilled and threaded for the factory backing plate for the drum to go on. So we just want to drill that out to 3/8 first. And it's important to have a good drill bit. This is one of my drill bits I had laying around. Hopefully this will drill through it. If not, I'll have to get a new drill bit or sharpen this one. So that's where we're at. Try to drill it straight as you can. I use a little bit of grease, hopefully it works, and apply a little pressure. It is making some, it's making its way through. This is probably the longest portion of doing this upgrade. It's the part that's going to take the longest, especially if you don't have a sharp drill bit. So just take your time, don't get frustrated, work yourself through. It ain't going to get done unless you do it, so just keep going at it. Drill all the way through. Drill this other hole through, and then we'll mark our holes for the top. I rounded the edges off at the top, like I said, to clear perfectly. And I think that's how the factory LS1 housing in looks. But it'll work just fine. Just be patient and get it done. Taking little breaks too, because being that the drill bit is pretty dull. I don't want to burn the motor out on this cheaper Ryobi drill here, so I'll give it a couple more minutes, and if it's not making good progress, I'm just going to go get a new drill bit, or maybe sharpen this one up. Alright, it is drilling decently, but when I first used this drill bit on the last run I did, it really cut real good. So obviously it's still probably just going to call it quits for tonight and get this stuff edited and uploaded as part 1. Part 2 tomorrow will be the finished result. I'll go pick up a drill bit. Pretty sure I have a new drill bit laying around somewhere, so I'll find that and get it drilled out. And I might as well go ahead and order the studs, so I'll get those ordered. I think they're like $24 for all 10 of them, and they're ARP studs. So I'll get those ordered for the axle flanges and finish this part out. Just in case I find it posi for a good deal, I'll swap the stock limited slip bullshit for the posi and clean everything up real good. And I don't know, if someone wants it, shoot me an offer on a PM. I'm just doing this just to show people how to do it, strictly for a how-to. I don't need any of this stuff. Like I said, I have a 9-inch Ford housing for the car, full Ford rear end basically. So there we have it. I'm gonna shut down for the day. Just take your time. It didn't take me too long to do any of this stuff. A lot of the footage is going to be real time, so you can see how long it took for it to occur. And this drill bit is drilling pretty good. I just think that if I sharpen it or if I get a new one, it will, it'll give you a better idea of how long it should take to drill these out. This is a more expensive drill bit. None of them cost too much, but this is a more expensive drill bit, so it hasn't broken or anything like that. When you get into trying to drill into this top portion here, you want to make sure you have a good drill bit to drill your pilot. Alright, that's probably about 1/8 of the way through. It's drilling nice and straight. Well, there you have it, folks. If you guys have any questions in between now and tomorrow, hopefully I can get this thing uploaded. Feel free to ask. I'm willing to help in any way I can. And like I said, I'm doing this for the guys that like saving money doing stuff yourself. I decided to go ahead and tackle this project and do a better documentation of how this is done, up to and including the ebrake. So I'll set the ebrake up to, just to let you know it's possible. There are some nice threads on how other people have done this. I saved a lot of money the first time I did it. I think I have about $166 to $200 total in the actual brake setup. Although I did have an Auburn posi that I bought brand new with gears. That was about $500. But other than that, the actual brake setup was pretty inexpensive. So here's a look at it. Here's this flange all cut and ready to go. The housing in. I'm going to round those edges as well, just like I did over here. But other than that, I got to go inside and get some rest, get my back to settle down, and I'll see you guys in part 2.